Well, welcome to Paulette's Paper Play, and today I have Graphic 45's Fairy Boutique. Now these are 8x8 papers with a whole bunch of die-cut pieces, in fact 61 of them, and we're going to put these together to make some really fun cards. In fact, a card like this is a little bit smaller, and it opens, and it opens, and it opens. Okay, won't you please come play with us? Well, before we get into the projects, let me just walk you through what's here. And we'll start with the papers, of course, keeping in tune with our title. These are 8x8. There are 24. They're all double-sided, and you're going to get 2 of each. And let me show you. This is the opening one. This is quite a large piece. And then we've got cutouts. And you could cut this out, or you could use this maybe for the front of an album. On the back side, we have a tone-on-tone with stars. We have mushroom houses all over. In fact, the same mushrooms are in the die cuts, which is, as you would expect, on the back, really pretty. And we've got a lot of cutouts, which is just gorgeous. In fact, you can see strips of them, border pieces, this little piece. In fact, this is used, this is used, this is used. On the back is some dandelions, which of course is a favorite of ours. This has got advertisements. I didn't know that fairies had advertisements, but now I do. Tone on tone, and on the back, lots of little fairies. Speaking of fairies, beautiful artwork, absolutely gorgeous. And on the back, this piece. Then we have the clothing, of course. So not only do we have crowns and shoes, but we have dresses all over. And this is another tone-on-tone, which they do beautifully. Here's some of the more of the clothing. And then this piece. And then we have more of the cutouts. So we've just got a wonderful collection of them. And kind of postcards, just looking really nice. And then this is the all over, and then there's a solid on the back. So the same is true of all of these. Now you're going to get 2 of each one. And so that really works nicely. Okay. In the die cuts, as I said, there are 61 pieces. I'm going to turn this over and we can get in close so that you can see even closer, 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 closer. Okay. So you can see it is the individual artwork that I've just shown you that's on the cutouts and in the art itself. So all of those. Okay. Now let's go to our projects. And this is a card, as I showed you in the opening, but is using a different size of a card. This is 4 3/4 inches square. And the deal is that we found these in the warehouse, and so we have packaged them up, and you're going to get 10 of the cards. They're scored in the middle, and you're going to get 10 envelopes. And what I've done is to take 2 of them and go ahead and fold them. Now there's a bump and there's a recessed. The bump goes in the middle of the card. That's kind of counterintuitive, but that is what works best. Okay, so I would do my bone folder, but I'm going to glue these 2 pieces together so that I have my front, then the 2 insides that I showed you. Now the papers that I've chosen are all the tone-on-tone. So it's these 3. And all I did, in fact, I think that, yes, and all I did was to cover each piece. So I put my adhesive. Now, my preference is a glue stick. Use whatever you want. Let's get in a bit closer because this is a little smaller card. Thank you. It kind of goes with the idea of fairies, don't you think? So I did place my glue all the way around. And I did do some inking. So on this, in fact, let me just show you my process. I have the Hunky Dory ink pads that we have, and by the way, I really like those. Number one, they last forever, but they are inexpensive, and they also have a raised pad. They're little 1-inch ones, and they just work really, really well. Now this happens to be the pear green. So what I did when I had my paper out, just like this, is I have my swatch of the greens, and I just kind of laid it next to it, and which do I want? I really thought at first it'd be the shamrock, but that's too bright. This is too light. And so the pear green was Goldilocks just right. And I just wanted to have a bit of an edge, and so just went right around the edge. In fact, it might even be a little hard to see, but that worked well for me. Then I went into the die cuts and decided what I wanted to fit into this. And it's kind of doing a collage. So you want to have a large piece. You want to have some depth because one or more can be on foam tape. I elected to have this foam taped. This is down flat, as are the two fairies. Then I went looking for sparkly things. Can you see the sparkly things that I found? Yes, you can. Well, these are the Star Dazzles. And what I found, in fact, let me show you. Let me get, bear with me. In the artwork, and I'd like to find a really big piece for you, and I'm not sure that I can. Okay, well, this is probably a pretty good indication. These are really kind of in your face, but there are stars all over. And in the artwork, okay, now we're right here. Can we get in just super close? There you go. Okay, you see those? Because they're white, it's kind of surprising, but when you spot them, well, that's where I elected to put a star. So you see right there would be one, right there, right down there. You could do others. And it just kind of fills up the artwork. And so I took my Star Dazzles, and you get a package that has gold and silver. Now, I elected to do silver, and I wanted to share with you what I do. You can actually, the jewel picker works really, really well. In fact, I used that this morning. So you could use that to just pick up one and place it. I also use, and I listed in the materials, the this pen, because you can pull it, and this is a very fine blade, but most of all, you can retract it. So I'm just going to push that button, and that's going to retract. So you do not put your elbow down on your pen and get cut. So that's good. So I just lift them off. And so wherever I found that little star, that's where I put the Star Dazzles all over. In fact, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. I did elect to do a little garland of stars for her. So that was fun. Okay, my second sheet, I went into blue, did the same thing, cut this. Before I glued it down, I did ink the edges. This time I used Air Force Blue. And let me show you why. Here are my samples. And again, I didn't want to get too dark. Kind of blueberry, it just kind of was too gray. So Air Force Blue was what I used. It just really works perfectly. I was very pleased. So did that. Now, Believe in Magic. That's one of the cutouts, if you will recall. And here it is. So in this case, I edged them with the thin line Dazzles, and this is the package that's got black, white, gold, and silver. And so I obviously used white. Now I knew I wanted to use this piece, and so I cut this out, but I needed to put it over toward the fold, okay? In fact, when I started this whole process, I took out this and I dumped it out on a cookie sheet. That way I can place them, and I can place things that kind of go together, like these ferns in one place. There's some butterflies, the greetings. That way I've got kind of my toolkit. So that's what I did, step one. Then I chose what I liked. So in this case, the Believe in Magic. Now the Believe in Magic has this flower on it, but there was also a die cut of that flower, which I thought looked great going on top of it. So I did put the thin line Dazzles on 3 sides of this sheet, but on all of the sides of my little Believe in Magic. So again, I've got my silver stars. Then going over here, obviously, I am using this paper. And in this case, I am using the Orchid ink pad. And just to show you, here is Orchid, Violet. Royal blue is obviously not going to work, but often the question is it orchid or violet? Well, obviously it's going to be orchid. So this is just a real time saver for me. And I went around the edge. Now you might think, okay, why do that when you're going to put dazzles? Well, because I think you do see it. I think you've got a darker edge. I think it looks a little more professional, a little more finished, my opinion. Do whatever you want, of course. So that place there. Now, in this case, this is the cutout that I used. Aha, but there was a die cut of that same great big mushroom. See? Same great big mushroom. And I thought, okay, let's do something different. So I wanted to make a pocket. So I can pull this out and leave it in. Okay. And so this is foam tape, but only on the bottom, maybe a little bit on the side. But I wanted to leave this open. Now notice, I also inked the edges of that. So it just gives a little bit more. Of course, I had to add one of the fairy die cuts, the stars, to give the shine. Okay, going to the next one. Now this is part of the sheet that I just used, but I only had that much left. So that's what I used. I inked it. And here I've used the white, but there's gold, silver, black in there, as well as white. So I went into silver next. So this time I have my die cut, and then this fairy, because it's called Sprinkle Love, I have a whole sprinkling of stars going down. And I thought that was fun. And you can see those were where the little starbursts were, same thing there. So she's foam taped. She's my star, and the others are just glued down. Now here I thought that was so cute. So this was one piece, but this is two pieces out of the die cuts. The Sparkle and Glow, that is a border. Not sure if I can find it quickly, but I would invite you to trust me. It's on here somewhere that I'm not finding. Okay, well, believe it. Oh, there it is. It's at the top. Okay, so I used that after I cut out this piece. Again, it was what was left over from an earlier sheet. And I used that kind of as my baseline, my horizon line, because I wanted them to be sitting on something. I did ink the edges. So she's foam taped. This one is glued flat, but she is foam taped. And I just thought the Hello Friend was just a really fun topic to say as these are talking seriously together. Certainly more of the star dazzles. I also liked in going through, so Wishing You a Magical Day, Believe in Magic, Sparkle and Glow, Sprinkle Love, Hello Friend, and Sparkle and Glow down there. So that was just really fun. So this was surprisingly quick to make, and it just gives you something extra special. And the envelopes are big enough that it will hold even this being this many pieces thick. So that was my first go round. I hope you like that. Now my second, in this case, I really wanted to use, I love this paper, of course, advertisement being paper, I love it. So I wanted to use this, but in order to have at least some of it showing, I needed a wider card. So I went with Hunky Dory's Tint Slimline cards. They're a little bit wider than our regular Slimline, so that would give me a little more space. So I covered it with this, and because that is 8 inches, my 8x8 paper works perfectly. And then I took one of the borders. You saw all of those cutouts, and let me see, there's a couple pieces. So these are a little bit bigger, and you can see that I took that strip and just glued it on top. Now this has got green borders, but I really wanted to use gold. I had used silver before and white, but those thin lines have gold in it. So I put them all around on this side, and then on each section of this cutout piece. So I just really like that. And I loved this fairy. She is one of the cutouts. I thought she was beautiful, and I thought letting her overlap the artwork would work beautifully. In fact, I should probably make note of that, is that whenever I'm doing this kind of work, I always make sure the things are touching. And you can see that here, they may be close sometimes, but there's always some overlap. And I just feel like that the eye moves between those pieces, and it doesn't have to make a choice of, should I look here or should I look here? Well, you can see right here, that's the focal point. So that's what I've done here. And even though you see her back, I thought it worked well with the dresses. Now, are you picking up that sparkle? There is, I hid it with the Glimmer Mist. And this is a hunky-dory product. I love it. Simply place my card on some scrap paper. I still use a paper newspaper. I'm one of those. And just sprayed it, let it dry. And I was really pleased with it. Now, the Love You comes from the We're Together Dazzles. This is the More Colors. So this has got brown and gold, silver and white in it. And I also went into the Gold Stars. I talked about the silver ones. So I gave her a garland, and more, I put them over where those little starbursts were. Now for the inside of my card, okay, this is actually a different paper. I showed it to you in the beginning, so I let that cover the whole thing. Sparkle and glow wherever you go. I thought that was really cute. This was actually a longer die cut that I trimmed to fit, and more of the dresses. So you see I have dresses on the front. She is beautifully dressed, of course. And then I have more on the inside. Now, my center one is my star as well as my message. So those two are foam taped. This is flat. These two are flat. And then I have a thin line dazzle. So I've used those. There's some straight ones in there to hang my dresses from that garland of flowers. So, and again, I sprayed those a little bit lighter on the inside than I did on the front. And when I spray it, I spray the inside of the front also, because you're going to get that anyway, so you might as well just spray it. Okay, now, what else can I do? Okay, so in my quest for what is sparkly, I was really drawn by the ferns that are in the artwork, because, you know, fairies are in the forest, and so mushrooms and ferns are going to be part of it. So I took this paper and I glued it to the front of our 5 by 6.5 inch card. Then I used our new, have you tried these? They are so neat, the elliptical. So I used the largest one, and the only thing you want to make sure that you do is, of course, place this so that it goes over the edge, the fold of the card. Okay, so you want to make sure that when you place it to die cut it, that it's off that edge, because you want to make sure that you've got a fold. And just super easy. I love the look. I think it's just fun to have something new, a new shape. And in fact, Debbie did some beautiful things. In fact, recently, she and Lene did a card that went this way, and I thought that was beautiful. But I needed the height. So I took our fern dazzles. These are new in the green. And place them down here so they're growing from the bottom, not the clear at the bottom, but kind of right here, because I knew I wanted to put these flower cutouts or die cuts at the bottom. So you can see I've got one there, I've got one here, I've got one curly one. That's the curly one. There's another one going the other way. I've got some smaller ones. Now, it was interesting because the Believe in Magic, and I'm sure I'm not going to find it, pretend it's this one, was blue in the package. They didn't have any green greetings, but I could fix that with my trusty pear green ink pad. All I did when I was inking the edges of this, the pear green, I just went over this whole piece. So I have a green matching, and I thought that was very clever. The flowers, there are some that are double, some that are single, so I just did them. They're all flat because I wanted her to be my star. Now, because all of the die cuts have a white edge, you can kind of see it. Again, I'm going to go back here. You can see they all have, it's narrow and it works perfectly. I'm really proud of them because their current die cuts are just excellent. But I wanted not to have that bright white. So I took the blush ink pad and went over the edges of her just to give her a little bit more tone on tone look. She's foam taped. I didn't do any stars, my word, what was I thinking? But I didn't do any stars. Now on the inside, I had more of the pieces left. So this I made green with my ink pad, but these are more of the dazzles, and these are the two cutouts that got me started on this whole look. But there were only the two, I believe. So I really needed to add more to them. So I've got one kind of medium-sized fairy over here, and I've got a little one just kind of tucked in between the R and magical. And I just thought that worked really nicely. So there's more of my sparkle. So I've got gold and silver stars, I've got green ferns, and then I thought, now what am I going to do? Okay, well, I thought about diamond dust, but in my memory, diamond dust was clunky. But in reality, it's not. So that was nice. So, you know, don't go with what you remember, try it. So I was really pleased with this. So what I did, and I also, as I was having those papers laying out, I thought, gee, aren't those two pretty together? So I covered my 5 by 6.5 inch card with this, having it go like that. And then I used a hot pink ink pad. Now, no, I used pink petal. Sorry, I used pink petal because I was just going to say, what was I thinking? Pink petal. And I thought that would work. However, when I did it, it ended up being a little too bright. So I went to the blush and I just went over it. So I've got the pink petal on the edge, so you can see where it's a darker pink, and then I've got the blush over it. And I was pleased with that, so that worked well. Then I cut that little rose paper smaller to fit right here. Now, I went into the cutouts again, and I think this is, it's so simple to say, isn't it? But when you go looking for them, okay. So here is the little girl, and there she is with diamond dust. So what do you think? So easy. Okay, take your specialist glue, take your diamond dust, and I use one of the teeny tiny daubers. We got these last year and sold a gazillion of them, but we still have many left because I wanted to keep them on stock. I think you get 100 in here? 50. Okay, you get 50. So I took the specialist glue, I squeezed out a little bit, and then I blended it all like this. And then I dumped on, yes, that's the technical term, the diamond dust, pressed it gently, and I had this on a scrap paper, and then I just tapped it off and returned it to the bottle. Then I cut out this piece, did the same thing on her wings. Now, I made a pocket. Now, even though this is foam taped, it's only foam taped on 3 sides. So that way, my pocket will work. Now, if you are concerned, or if you find that pushing this in, you're going to go up against the foam tape and it's going to stick, think cornstarch. Take your little dauber, take a different one, not the one I said, and push the cornstarch on it, or put cornstarch on it before you attach it down. And that way, nothing is going to stick. But I love the fact that I've got a sparkle And that was really fun. Now you'll notice that I did take the white ribbons and wrapped it around the front of the card. In fact, you'll see it, it's right there. And then I took another piece and I zotted it in place. And then I did zot down, that's come off. Okay, well, I swear I did. I did zot down the ends because I wanted them to come around. So I will fix that. Inside, I took a piece of the yellow, purple, did the same thing. This is one of those postcards that on the back of these. Did the same thing, but this time I covered up Magic and I covered up the flowers and then her garland. Then this is another piece and I put diamond dust on the arch. So I wanted to have different things, of course. We don't just do the same thing. And again, this is a pocket, so I just tucked it, and you can see sprinkle a little magic. Is purple, it matches. How nice is that? And it just worked very, very nicely. Okay, so that's what I did as I was playing with Graphic 45, who is here in Oregon, where we are, which is kind of nice. And you get 24 sheets. You also get 61 die cuts. Now, I will tell you, I was generous with the die cuts and the cutouts. I've got a ton left, so that's really nice. There is a money saver, of course. It is over on the right side of our screen. And that is available for you. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you would like us and subscribe, especially subscribe. That gives us more points in the YouTube contest. And then head on over to paperwishes.com. I hope you like what we've done. Many of the things that I've shown you are exclusive here at Paper Wishes, like the dazzles, the elliptical cord, those 4 3/4 inch cards and envelopes. So that would be fun for you. Also, I've written all of the instructions, so they're down below. Just click on any of the projects and you'll get all of the measurements and everything. And just to see the process, because I like to share with you how I did what I did and why I did it. Okay, got all that? How, what, and why. I want to thank you very much for joining me today and for being part of our Paper Wishes family. I'll see you again. Bye-bye. Okay, I had another tip for you and I forgot to say it. So have you seen that we have Deco Arts fine tip gold and silver pens? We also have a copper pen, but it's not fine tip. But anyway, I thought it would be fun. Now, when you get this, you need to prime it. So you need to go like that several times and then it'll start going. But I thought it would be fun that you could, you could highlight areas of die cuts just however you wanted, just like this. Maybe do the angel wings, maybe do that little door. So I think that there's just, I think this is going to be, maybe you can't see it. La la la, lift it up, come on. You can add some gold or silver or copper, but I think it's just really neat and not just applicable to fairies, but to, just think of Christmas, lots of things. Okay, I think you can just get going and get going and get going. Okay, I wanted to make sure that you knew that. These are at paperwishes.com. I did not put them in the supply list, so you can just go to the top of the home page and put in Deco Art fine tip pen and you will see it gold and silver. Bye.